There is a famous clip of a billionaire being asked what his number one piece of advice would be for someone trying to become a millionaire, and he gives an answer that sounds helpful on the surface. He says something about hard work, or reading books, or waking up early. But here is the part that never gets asked. If that advice really worked as a repeatable blueprint, why is he spending an afternoon filming an interview instead of using that same afternoon to make another $10 million? The question is uncomfortable because it reveals something most people sense but cannot prove. The people who have actually built serious wealth do not sell courses about how they did it. Not because they are gatekeeping some secret formula, but because selling a course is, mathematically speaking, a terrible use of their time. And once you run the numbers, you will see that the entire premise of buying wealth advice from wealthy people collapses under its own arithmetic. Let us start with a hypothetical. Imagine someone with a net worth of $10 million. That is a lot of money, but it is also a realistic number for someone who might be considered a mid-tier success story in the online business world. Now that person decides to create a course on how to build wealth. They film it, edit it, market it, handle support, and manage the sales funnel. Generously, let us say that entire process takes about 500 hours of their time in the first year, plus ongoing maintenance. And let us also be generous about the outcome. Suppose the course sells remarkably well and generates $100,000 in profit in that first year. That is a successful course by almost any measure. But here is where the math gets interesting. $100,000 divided by 500 hours gives an effective hourly rate of $200 per hour. That is not bad for most people. But for someone with $10 million, that $200 per hour is actually a terrible return compared to what their money can do while they sleep. Now let us run the compound interest side. If that $10 million is invested in a diversified portfolio, earning a conservative average annual return of 7%, that portfolio grows by $700,000 in the first year entirely without the person doing any work at all. $700,000 is 7 times what the course generated, and that is just year one. The course revenue is capped. It might earn $100,000 again next year, or it might decline as the market saturates. But the investment portfolio keeps compounding. Watch what happens when you extend this comparison over 10 years. The course, assuming it somehow maintains that same $100,000 per year, generates a total of $1 million over the decade. Meanwhile, that $10 million portfolio, compounding at 7% annually, grows to roughly $19,670,000. That is an increase of nearly $9,700,000. The course contributed $1 million. The portfolio contributed almost 10 times that, and the person had to work hundreds of hours for the course income. The portfolio income required exactly 0 hours of labor. But that is only the beginning, because the real gap is not just in the dollar amounts. It is in the trajectory. The course income is linear. Each year adds roughly the same amount. The investment income is exponential. Each year adds more than the year before because the base keeps growing. After 5 years, that 7% return on $10 million is roughly $400,000 per year. But after 10 years, the same 7% return on the larger base is over $900,000 per year. The course will never pay out $900,000 in a single year unless the creator spends even more time expanding it. And at that point, the opportunity cost becomes absurd. Every hour spent maintaining or promoting the course is an hour not spent on anything else. But more importantly, It is an hour of labor that earns less than the portfolio earned in the time it took you to read this sentence. Now consider the question from the perspective of someone even wealthier. A person with $50 million in net worth has a portfolio that grows by $3.5 million per year at 7%. That is roughly $10,000 per day. Every single day, including weekends and holidays. In the time it would take them to record a single module of a course, say 3 hours of filming plus preparation, their portfolio has already generated over $1,200. That is before they have sold a single copy. To justify the time investment, a course would need to generate income on a scale that completely undermines the premise of selling wealth advice to ordinary people. A person at that level would need to sell a course for something like $5,000 per copy and sell hundreds of them just to match what their portfolio does automatically. And the moment they admit that they are selling a course for $5,000, the entire pretense of democratizing wealth education falls apart. Let us pause here and ask the question that the smooth marketing never addresses. What are the odds that every successful YouTuber who sells a course happens to have a passion for teaching? Not some of them, not a few of them. Almost every single one of them frames their course pitch around the love of helping others. But think about the statistical implausibility of that coincidence. Starting a successful business, scaling it, managing a team, navigating taxes and legal structures, and building a personal brand are all high-pressure activities that require a very specific personality type. And yet, by a stunning coincidence, that exact personality type also overwhelmingly loves to sit down and create structured educational content for strangers on the internet. It is not impossible that some of them genuinely enjoy teaching. But when the math shows that course creation is a financially irrational activity for anyone with real wealth, the sudden universal passion for pedagogy starts to look less like destiny and more like a marketing angle. The deeper mechanism here is the difference between linear and exponential returns, and most people have never actually felt the gap in their bones. So let us walk through a concrete example with smaller numbers that anyone can relate to. Suppose you have $100,000 saved. That is a respectable sum, but not life-changing. You are considering two options. Option 1, you spend 300 hours creating a course that you sell for $50,000 total over the next year. Option 2, you invest that $100,000 in a broad market index fund averaging a 7% annual return. In Option 1, you earn $50,000 for 300 hours of work, which is roughly $167 per hour. In Option 2, you earn $7,000 for 0 hours of work. The course looks better in year 1. But now extend it. The course income is $50,000 once, or maybe a recurring $50,000 if you are lucky, and the content stays relevant. The investment income compounds. After 10 years, that $100,000 has grown to roughly $197,000. The total investment return over the decade is $97,000. The course has returned $50,000 per year for 10 years if it stays that popular, which is $500,000. So for someone at the $100,000 level, the course might actually make sense. The linear stream beats the exponential one because the base is too small. But here is the critical turning point that the gurus do not want you to calculate. At what net worth does the exponential path overtake the linear course path? Let us solve that. Let P be the principal amount you have invested. Let the annual return rate be 7%. Let the course income be $100,000 per year. We want to find the principal P, where the annual investment return equals the annual course income. That is 0.07 times P equals $100,000. Dividing both sides by 0.07 gives P equals roughly $1,429,000. So once your net worth crosses about $1.4 million, your portfolio is earning more per year in passive growth than a very successful course would generate. And that is before accounting for the hundreds of hours of labor the course requires. At that point, every hour you spend on the course is an hour where you are earning less than your money is earning without you. You are literally working for a pay cut relative to doing nothing. Now let us apply this to the billionaire case. A billionaire is someone whose net worth is at least $1,000 million. At a 7% return, that portfolio generates $70 million per year. That is roughly $192,000 per day. In the time it takes to record a 30-minute YouTube video, that person's wealth has grown by roughly $4,000. To beat that with a course, they would need to generate income on a scale that is essentially a separate business empire, not a side project. And if they are going to build a business empire, why would they choose the most saturated, low-margin, credibility-risking market in the world? They would not. They would start a hedge fund, buy real estate, acquire companies, or launch a software product. Anything that scales without requiring them to trade hours for dollars in front of a camera. But here is the part most people get wrong. They assume that because a wealthy person could not rationally sell a course, the wealthy person who does sell a course must be faking their wealth. And that is a tempting conclusion, but it is not always true. There is another possibility that is more subtle and more dangerous. A person might have genuinely made money in one field, then pivoted to selling courses because it is actually easier and more predictable than continuing to generate wealth in their original field. Consider someone who built a successful real estate portfolio worth $2 million over 15 years. That is a real achievement. But maintaining and growing that portfolio requires constant deal finding, property management, market analysis, and risk management. It is hard work. Selling a course about real estate investing, on the other hand, requires filming a few dozen videos once and then running ads. The course business might generate $300,000 per year with far less ongoing effort than the real estate business. So the person is genuinely wealthy, but the course is not a side project they do for fun. It is actually their main income source now, because it produces more money per unit of effort than their original wealth-building activity does. And that means the course is not teaching you how to get rich. It is teaching you how to sell courses about getting rich. Those are completely different skills. This is the mathematical trap that the whole industry rests on. If the course were truly a superior wealth-building strategy, the creator would keep doing it quietly and never sell the blueprint, because selling the blueprint creates competition. But if the course is actually an inferior wealth-building strategy compared to what the creator did to get rich, then the creator is selling you a downgrade. Either way, the transaction is structurally flawed. And once you see this pattern, you start noticing it everywhere. Every ad promising to teach you how to make money online is, by its very existence, evidence that making money by teaching people how to make money online is currently more profitable than whatever the teacher originally did. Let us now work through the opportunity cost more carefully, because this is where the math gets brutal and where most people never look. Suppose you are considering buying a course for $2,000. You are hoping it will help you start a business that generates an extra $20,000 per year. That sounds like a good return on investment. But what if instead of buying the course, you simply invested that $2,000 in the stock market and added $100 per month to it for the next 10 years? Let us calculate both paths. Path 1, you buy the course, and let us assume it works. You earn an extra $20,000 per year starting in year 2, after the first year of learning and setup. Over 10 years, you earn roughly $180,000 total from the business, minus the $2,000 course cost, so $178,000 net. Path 2, you invest the $2,000 plus $100 per month into a 7% returning portfolio. After 10 years, the math works out as follows. The initial $2,000 grows to roughly $3,934. The monthly contributions of $100 compound to roughly $17,308. Total portfolio value after 10 years is roughly $21,242. That is far less than $178,000. So the course path clearly wins if the business actually works. But here is the hidden assumption. The business has to work. And the failure rate for online businesses started by first-time entrepreneurs is staggeringly high. Most studies put it above 90% within the first 3 years. So the expected value of that course path is not $178,000. It is roughly $17,800 because there is only a 10% chance of success. Meanwhile, the investment path has a near 100% chance of delivering that $21,000 if held for 10 years through market ups and downs. Suddenly, the investment path looks better on a risk-adjusted basis. And this is before accounting for the hundreds of hours of labor the business would require versus the 0 hours required by the investment. Now we arrive at the uncomfortable truth that the course industry depends on you not calculating. The very people who could rationally sell you a wealth-building course are the ones who do not need to. And the ones who do need to sell courses are the ones who cannot prove their system works better than just investing the money you would have spent on their advice. The math creates a lemons market, where the worst advice is the most aggressively marketed because the people giving it have the most to gain and the least to lose by being wrong. But let us end on a constructive note. Understanding this math does not mean all education is worthless. It means you need to be brutally honest about what you are buying. If a course teaches you a specific technical skill that you can verify independently, like how to code in a particular language or how to operate a piece of machinery, that is a different category entirely. The value is in the skill, not in the promise of wealth. But if the course is selling a lifestyle transformation or a wealth blueprint, ask yourself one question. If the creator's method reliably produced the results they claim, would they be spending their time marketing to you, or would they be quietly applying their method? The answer is almost always written into the math. And once you know how to read it, you do not need anyone to sell you the secret. The secret is that the numbers do not lie, and they have been telling the truth this whole time.